So here's a quick and easy way to set up a flight from Halifax, Nova Scotia to Saint John, New Brunswick. I hit Shift 8, bring up this box on the screen, and I hit Ready for Taxi. Sets up all the buttons, makes it pretty much almost ready for flight. So then I click on these two little boxes. I go down, I click on the control column, and I click these two switches. Down here, this one here, and that's the main one. Now I'm going to slave the gyro, click that button. That's important. And then I'm going to turn on the GPS. And then I go down here, I click on this armrest and get it out of the way. I turn on the FMS. And I select accept. And that's all you really have to do right now for the beginning part. Now I'm going to set up our cabin altitude. I usually set it between 8,000 and 9,000 feet. That seems to be pretty good. And if you go really high, you might have to readjust it or dump some of the pressure. You'll get some warning lights. Put my control column back. Show you a couple more things. If you click just on the bar here, not on any buttons, you'll open up this window. And you're able to set your VSI with this button down here. It's really great for when you want to control your speed with your autopilot. It'll climb faster, but it'll slow you down so you're not exceeding any limits. Also, this is your heading bug select. You'll see the heading bug change when you use your mouse wheel on that. Over here you got your course change, so you can set your course up as required with that button. And with these, if you use your right mouse button, it'll switch it in one direction. Left mouse will click it the other way, and that's for all these. So if you want to experiment with these, that's what you do. It's right and left click. And we're just going to set up our runway heading on the heading bug. And the other thing we're going to do is set up our altitude. So we're going to turn on altitude select, and then I'm just going to correct my VSI bug that I set up. And here's where I'm going to select my altitude that I want to go to, and it's going to be 10,000 feet. That's what I use for this flight plan. So here's where I'll set up the altitude, and as you see the autopilot, I have altitude selected, that button. And now I'm just going to make sure all the lights are on. We'll turn our landing light on for our takeoff. I'll turn on the nav, anti-collision lights. That's basically all you really need. So now we're going to program the FMS. You hit the soft key by the first set of lines here, and we're going to enter in the first part of our route, which will be the YHZ VOR. Then once you hit enter, it's going to give you a list. It wants to make sure that it has the right one, so you have to select one for the one that's in Canada, hit return. And I'm going to change all my altitudes for the whole trip on route phase to 10,000 feet. That's the altitude I chose. For simplicity reasons, it's better just to have them all at 10,000. So the next point along our airway is going to be RD. We enter that, hit enter, and then select 10,000 for our altitude. And that way we don't get any surprises during our whole flight. It just, it's going to stay at 10,000 until we select descend. And that'll show you when we start our approach later. I'll show you what I mean by that. So cap, that was our third spot. Then to the YSJ VOR, Saint John VOR. Same thing, it's going to ask for Canada, so we put 1 in that spot, right below current, hit enter, and then return. So then the final thing that we're going to do after we put in this altitude is now we have to put in our final airport destination, so we can put CYSJ for the Saint John Airport in New Brunswick. And I'm still going to keep it at 10,000, so if we don't change anything once we get logged onto our nav and we're airborne and everything, it's just going to fly this route, put us over the airport. But we're going to select when we start our approach, so this will work out fine. If you look at our GPS, you can zoom in and out, and now our line that wasn't there before is there. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit with it. And that's where our plane's going to basically follow once we take off. As far as the setup goes, it's pretty basic. That's it. And now we're pretty much ready for takeoff. And that's it for the setup part of it. And be sure to catch part 2 for takeoff and climb. Thanks again.